Is that how it works?
Yeah, we
It's just
are
like
now.
you're live now.
There we go. We are live now. Welcome to almost live, which is live-ish, like slightly delayed thanks to the 4G network that I'm using here. We have Nas Hoosen on the line today, who is a TV writer, a screenwriter, a writer in general, actually. You write a lot of different things. But the thing we're going to be chatting about today is TV. Although I originally know you from comics.
That's
So
right.
how did that happen?
The transition from comics to TV. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not a transition because I kind of still do
both
both.
done at the same time.
Yeah. Like it's kind of one of those weird things where I guess I was always just writing. Like, I used to do like journalism stuff and blogging and like writing my own like short fiction and then writing comics. And then TV kind of came up at the same time as comics were starting to like really take off for a while. Basically, I mean, how much depth do you want me to go into? Because it's quite a story. Like,
Well, go for it. We've got half an hour, so.
all right, yeah, I won't make it a half an hour story. So basically, I don't know if you know Triggerfish Animation. They based in Cape Town, they're an animation studio, right? And they basically
they do really good work.
Sorry.
They do really good work.
Yeah. Exactly. And basically, they ran this competition with Disney, where essentially, I mean, I hate calling it a competition, and I know that this is me being pedantic, but it makes it sound like they drew my name out of like a lottery, which is like not what it was. But basically, what it is like they asked for submissions, like an open call across the continent, and got like I can't remember how many it was. It was a crazy amount, like thousands of like submissions from across the continent for pitches for animated shows and animated films. A friend of mine did some work with them on, I think she worked on Kumba, if I'm not mistaken. Her name's Sarah.
Yeah.
She's an animator as well. So basically, she's really one of my friend's sisters. And she knows that I was writing all the time, and she knows that I love like movies and stuff. So she went, dude, why don't you submit something? I'm going to submit something. And it was like really out of the blue. Like we never really spoke. Like she lived in Cape Town. So she just Facebooked me. Yeah.
But what did they want you to submit though? Like a full script, just an idea? What was this? How did that go?
It's been a while, so I can't remember the exact details. Actually, that's where I met Sheldon as well. He's a homie of yours from Burbs, right?
We're writing together.
Yes, yeah. And so basically, what I remember was that you had to submit like they had outlined it. They go like, oh, you need to submit like a kind of a pitch sort of breakdown, like a paragraph, and then I think they wanted like maybe like a couple pages or maybe a page.
So had you written a script before that?
I think a lot of writing starts before you start writing as a job. If you're any good, anyway, I think. And like basically, you're like
you had the ideas.
No. Everybody has ideas. I fucking hate that. Like I was writing scripts alone, like at home, for no purpose. Like I was writing.
Okay, so you would.
Yeah. Like in the high school, you go like, what does a script look like? I've never seen one of those. You get the internet, you Google that shit, you find one, and you try to write one.
Okay, well, I didn't do that in high school. Okay, I did that last year. So like,
I didn't have friends. No, I'm kidding. I did have friends, but it was like I was at home. I liked writing. I wanted to do it. I thought nothing of it. That's what I spent my time doing. So in a way, like it all warms you up for it, I guess. So I hadn't written a proper pitch before, but I think not knowing sometimes all the rules is way better than knowing all the rules. Like you go in a little bit like blind. You kind of outthink all the rules and structure and bullshit. Which I think is like, I mean, if you can, right? Like I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. So that's how you originally got started.
So that's how I got into
them.
Yeah, I got into like sort of whatever top 40 or whatever it was for that. We got some training with a screenwriting instructor from LA, Pilar, who is amazing, Pilar Alessandra. And she's just like she used to work at DreamWorks. And so she was a script reader. Right? Yeah, exactly, right? And she was a reader.
Wait. Back up there. A script reader. What do you mean?
Dude, okay, so a reader, this is like a real thing that we don't think of as a job, right? And like, it's like she worked for DreamWorks, right? And so what would happen is, fucking, I don't know, 50 scripts come in, like in 3 months or whatever. And you have to read them all, right? Or maybe her and a bunch of different readers. But, she got a stack of scripts and she'd have to go through them and go, yes, no, maybe, what will Steven Spielberg want to look at, right? Kind of thing, and you go through the pile and then you send them off because you also, they as a company would know what is a DreamWorks script, like Disney's
Wait,
not
was
going to
that?
make R-rated, violent animated series or whatever.
I was just thinking, was that maybe his job in Arrested Development? Partially.
I don't remember. Is that like in the later seasons?
I think in like season 3 where she's like, "Marry me."
I can't fucking remember. I don't at all.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, the short version of it is, I met a lot of people at that top 40 stage who worked in TV and film, and I knew like nobody who worked in TV and film before that, other than my friend's sister. You know what I mean, right? And like I didn't even know that she worked.
Told you to apply.
I didn't even know that she worked in. I didn't know what she did. She's my friend's sister, right? And basically through that experience, kind of met a bunch of people, and off the back of that, I made it to the sort of the top 8 or whatever you want to call it, the finalists, and we went to LA and we got some training there from Disney and stuff. But I think the real crux of it for me in terms of my career here locally was meeting all these producers and directors and writers and other people in that top 40 space.
Do you find that's a big element of TV, and especially the writing side of the game, is getting involved in it, is knowing people involved in it? Like, I know, like how many people, sure, but how many people do you know in like screenwriting that studied it versus how many have come from other areas?
That's the thing, right? It's like when I was like really getting out of high school and I wanted to go study, I did say at one point to my mom, like, oh, I think maybe I want to go study film. And, this is a very much a kind of Black people kind of thing or a brown people thing, if that's people's thing. But basically, like, I think my mom was just like, are there jobs? Like kind of like in that industry?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Maybe my mom's got a sort of sensible point there. And I went to go study journalism, which I was also really passionate about. But it's interesting because for a while, at the start of my career, moving into like film and stuff, I thought, oh man, I really missed out on those early connections you make if you studied it like after, you'd meet all these people and then you'd all go, work.
It's like going to Hilton. Like,
the fucking better version of going to Hilton. Exactly. Right? Like way better because you don't have to deal with affluent fucking douchebags. Well, hopefully.
I mean, you kind of do.
You kind of do. Yeah, maybe not only, right? But now I actually back it and I think I'm really glad I didn't fucking do that because I think that I would have kind of been usually maybe not. I don't know. I think maybe I would have been a bit pigeonholed into like what I thought I was capable of doing. I had like a more indirect path, but that means my brain is kind of wired in a more indirect way. No?
I get that, and it's like you like remind me of like a conversation I had on the podcast with Charles Bluchnote, where he said a writer is a writer is a writer, and that's something like I've really taken into heart. That's something that I really have gone, what, I can actually write anything. I can write for TV, I can write a book, I can write an instruction manual if I need to, that is the job.
Let me ask you something. Who are your like favorite writers? Like you don't have to I'm not asking for a top 5 or an order, just like off the top of your head. Who are like 3 of your favorite writers?
3 of my favorite writers.
Yeah.
Oscar Wilde would be number 1.
Right.
We would then go into Kurt Vonnegut, probably second. And then third, I don't know, I'll just go Frank Herbert because of Dune.
Okay. I don't know much about Frank Herbert, although I do love Dune. But the other 2, degenerates. Total fucking degenerates. Right? Like as far as writing is concerned. And I don't think like a writer is a writer is a writer. I remember that episode with Shaw. I remember listening to it. I love Shaw. And I think I completely agree with the idea that a writer is a writer is a writer, but I also think that like someone who like lived like can tell a better story than somebody who watched a lot of TV. And I watched a lot of TV, but then I also like did a lot of shit. Right? Like I think you posted a thing on Twitter. Sorry, I know this is like meta referencing, but I'm going to explain it. There was like
It's cool.
the NPM editor, like was it Max Vershnikov or whatever, spending like
Yeah.
a month in Durban with you and your homies.
Oh, it was
like,
just a weekend. It was just a weekend, yeah.
Right? And partying for this article about Durban in FHM, right? And it's like the way that article will be written today with the stupid budgets and the stupid like online media blog fucking sphere that exists now, would be that some dude who can't write will find you, not even you, sorry, will find somebody in Durban who's like an influencer who takes like an Instagram photograph of themselves selling like suntan lotion and go, hey, could you tell me the top 5 places to eat in Durban? And then they'd write that article and you'd go like, but then you didn't fucking like, you're speaking to a person who like doesn't do anything and you're a person who doesn't do anything. And then like, what is the quality of the story that you're telling? Like, it's not rooted in any experience. And I'm not saying you have to write about it, but you have to kind of get close. Like, I don't have to do heroin, but like, you know, I've done enough fucked up shit.
You know, people have done it.
Exactly. And also like, I've done enough fucked up shit to get close enough to go like, oh, okay, I can kind of fathom what that's like. Like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a dangerous path, and one that I think, I wanted to bring that up. Like, I know you as a person write about issues, like, you know, you care about, and like reading the write-up for Lithapo, which is a show that you're currently working on. It says, Lithapo is about Nolo, a young man from Kwakwa, in search of his father in the city as he navigates romance and revenge while smashing the patriarchy within toxic masculinity in the midst of post-apartheid, hashtag, protest, and the corrupt world of urban property development, gentrification, whilst exploring the complex lives of ordinary working class people in Alex, as well as affluent sons and moguls, all caught in the middle of an inevitable dawning of change. So this is on the SABC2 website. This is how they describe the show.
That's marketing, right?
I found that quite interesting, because that would, like, imagine 10 years ago, those words would not be on a write-up for a show, like, at all.
Right.
Like, those would not be themes that are actively, openly, like, you know, spoken about. Like, so
I still deal with producers and stuff when I'm working on pitches now. I mean, one of my producers, who's a friend of mine, has said to me, he's like, you know, you're too political. He said to me, like, you're too political and no one wants to buy politics, which is funny because he once pitched me one of his ideas that was really political. But anyway, but I think the thing is, I can say with Lithapo, first of all, it wasn't my pitch. Like, it was somebody else's pitch, an idea that they had kind of sold to the SABC with Quizzical, the production house. And basically, I was brought on as one of the writers, and I'll explain that in a second. But what's interesting about it is when you put us in the room, the storyliners that had to discuss the story, that stuff, the kind of, I guess, political angle and stuff, that emerged naturally from who we were in the room. Like myself, like Mahano Mabalo, who's still producer on the show, and Tishiwe, and basically, and Neil. We kind of brought those, especially myself, Tish, and Mac, brought those issues, I think, to the surface because they were already on our minds, and it's already the kinds of people we are. If I could just say one thing quickly, sorry, before you ask, I just want to give you the actual what Lithapo was about. This doesn't spoil anything except for it's already on episode like 40 something. So this is what
49 is on YouTube. So
right, so it's about Nolo, a kid from rural Kwakwa who comes to Joburg, to Sandton, to find, or to Alex, to find the dad that he never knew, right? This guy that he's looking for, Kabi, okay? But he's followed there by the ghost of his mother.
Okay, because I saw there was something about, like, you know, his mom, because she dies like herding cattle because of cattle thieves. Like, I saw that, and like there was like a little bit of hook there, but I didn't know the whole vibe. So that's actually really cool. That's a very South African story, like, in its own, in a lot of ways. And like, what I like is you guys recognize then that, you know, this is a story about daddy issues in a lot of ways, you know, like he's searching for his father, and you're also going like he's been brought up by his mom, and so he's anti-patriarchal in a way, you know. It's like growing up to a single mom. Well, that's like, I don't know enough about the show, but that's how it's been written here. Like,
yeah.
so like, I like that because that is something that I relate with, and I think a lot of other people who've grown up in those kind of households might relate to, and have gone on that search for their father. Like,
Yeah.
you don't feel quite the same way as like other dudes who grew up, with men around, like, with,
100%.
manly men.
But I also think what's really important about it is, so there's this tendency, I mean, like, that what you read is a kind of a marketing pitch that's trying to summarize a lot of like complex ideas into a way that's sales.
Okay, wait, you're breaking up there for me. No. Okay. Can anyone else see Nas there? Comment, guys. Is anything happening from NASA's side for you, gentlemen? Someone let me know. If not, might have to take a slight break. I'm gonna quickly try and do that again. Technical difficulties in the age of Corona. Okay. Guys, we're going to take a quick little 5-minute break. We'll be back at 7:20. No, is he coming back?
Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. That was my connection. It might. I'm hoping it doesn't do that again.
It's all good. It's part of the charm.
Part of the charm, totally. That's how all my meetings go now, by the way. That's every fucking Tuesday. So basically, what I was going to say was, there's a tendency I noticed in a lot of like sort of films now to kind of frame the political in a really, I think, quite contrived way. Like, there's this way, like, if you look at something like, like Star Wars, like, because it was Star Wars Day yesterday, right? I think this is a really good example. If you look at like how the modern Star Wars movies are framed, like, there was a kind of like, I guess, political aspect to the old films, in a very direct way. It's very much, they're the Nazis and they're, the rebels are the rebels and they're fighting against.
It was pretty on the nose.
Right, exactly. But also, like, I think for a lot of people, it was still done as a sure, but for a lot of people, I think it was still done fairly, and I'm not saying it was subtle in any way, but what I mean is, it's a kid's movie that kids looked at it and went, oh, bad guys, good guys, got it, right? I think there's this kind of tendency now to kind of like frame everything according to the marketing perspective of how politics should look. So it's like, oh, look, the lead is a woman, right? Like, and look, her sidekick is a black guy. And it feels like white people putting together like a palette swap, right? Like, exactly. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you get amazing performers because you give them those opportunities. So you get like a John Boyega in the new Star Wars or Daisy Ridley or whatever. But I think what's kind of
I mean, you can see the poster behind me there. Like, I loved like, that one. But the newest of Star Wars, like, was also changed because of politics, because of the way the public reacted to me. Like, the most political Star Wars was The Last Jedi. No, wait, what's it called again? Yes, The Last Jedi.
Sure.
Like, I thought it was incredibly political, but I liked it for that reason, like, but I get like the marketing pitch can throw a lot of people off, and then people reacted to it negatively because it was like, it's a woman and it's a black guy and it's,
right.
These things. And so,
right? Because like Rise of Skywalker was such a corporate, like attempt to pull back, to go like, no, wait, we need to sell toys, right?
We didn't mean it.
Yeah, exactly. And what the problem with that is, it shows you how contrived the initial decision to make it politically minded was in the first place. Like, I don't think that, I think there are a lot of people whose hearts were genuinely in it, including like J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy. I don't want to blame any particular one person, but I think that the business people call up later and they go, look, we didn't really ever give a fuck about the politics. You told us it would sell. Now we're saying it's not selling. You got to fucking fix it, right? And I think that that's that. With Lithapo, the lovely thing about it was that, like, the actual show is not about toxic masculinity. It's not about and I care about those issues. So I'm not trying to deny those issues. I'm saying,
but you can write them in with a less obvious, like,
no, you just write them in because they're there, right? Like,
exactly. That's
now character. It feels almost like we're not even bordering on. Like, often we get there where a character like turns to the camera and goes, "This is an example of toxic masculinity," and it's like, oh, no, it's like, it's no, you fucking, it's probably not.
That actually brings up a good thing. Like, do you find like we're losing subtext a lot? Do you find less is being put on the audience to decide for themselves, like how they're meant to read characters? Because one of the things that like frustrates me, even like, as a left-leaning dude who's fairly woke, is that whole thing of like, you're not meant to write bad characters. Like I saw something today where someone was saying like, how is American, what was it? The one with Kevin Spacey in it where he's a pedophile. He's in love with his son's friend. What's it?
American Beauty.
I'm trying to remember. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. So someone was like, how's this a cult classic when it's about pedophilia? And it's like, well, it would just be a classic if it wasn't about pedophilia. Like, but where's the issue here? To me, it's just like, where is the issue here? Like, what is the problem with making a film like that? Because you need to go into it and decide how you feel about it. What does it make you feel? What does it make you think?
I hesitate sometimes to say like, oh, the audience can't pick up on subtext like necessarily. I've said things like that sometimes, like because it's something I turn around in my head, right? It's like I do think sometimes it's not always a cop out. I think because you still get great films that actually play with the idea that like the meaning is internal and can be uncovered through the audience engaging with it. And like David Lynch talks about it a lot. Like I love Lynch, right? And Lynch talks about
exactly.
Like one of my favorite things that he says, and he said it a couple times, but he like honed it in a recent interview. They asked him about something in the last season of Twin Peaks, The Return, and there's this image in this episode that's almost entirely done with like there's almost no dialogue in the episode. It's mostly music. It's entirely in black and white, and it's like episode 8. It just everyone fucking knows episode 8. It's fucking incredible, right? And I think about it, and I thought about it a lot. And there's an image in it of like this sort of creature that comes out of a thing, and then it climbs into this little girl's mouth while she's sleeping. And somebody asked, "So what is that? What does that mean?" And he
what
said,
do you want it to mean?
Well, no. He didn't like see that's a cop out. Okay? Like when he said what he said, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And if I gave you my interpretation, it would only be my interpretation. But he did say that there is something true in it, right? And he believes that if you fundamentally kind of try to capture the original feeling of the idea when you had it, you kind of communicate that meaning to the audience, kind of whether they like it or not. Like it gets close to the truth.
Okay.
And maybe a very poetic and very like kind of abstract concept, but I'm a fucking writer. I'm not, that's how artists think about things. Like it is poetic and abstract and weird and complicated and complex and nuanced. Sometimes I think things might escape an audience, but it's also okay for things to escape an audience. I think that things should escape an audience. Things escape me. Like I didn't get the first time I ever watched, here's a classic example. First time I ever watched like Fight Club as a kid. It wasn't a movie about like corporations and capitalism and like toxic masculinity. It was a movie that had a fucking cool twist in it where it turns out he's the same fucking dude as the other dude, right? And then like I got a little bit older, rewatched it and went, oh hey, there's something here that's actually like speaking to where I'm at right now. And then like
you bring up a great thing with that film. But you bring up a great thing with that film because people were like shocked that Fight Club started because of that film, when it was a film that was expressing, like, it wasn't necessarily saying capitalism is bad, masculinity is bad. You can pick that up from it, and other people picked it up. It said capitalism is bad, and aspects of masculinity are bad. But like that, having that, Fight Club, like look at the growth of MMA since. Like there was a need like that he was bringing out. He was talking about like something that was real at the time that men were experiencing and how they were going towards it. And if you look since then, how men have gone towards, certain aspects of Fight Club, it's like almost like a prediction, in a weird way. But a lot of the time what we see as prediction in sort of fiction is more like it's less predictive and more influential. Like Fight Club, like for example, I don't agree with the hypothesis that like we need to go out and fuck shit up in order to like engage with some kind of like toxic masculinity. What I need to go do is punch another dude and then I'll feel sort of something real. Because I don't think quite in that regard.
Hold
sure.
on. I don't think that that's what Polaniak was trying to say with the novel either, and I don't even think that's what Fincher was trying to say with the movie. But it's funny that, like you mentioned, MMA. If you want to draw like a line, not that we didn't have violence like in the ring before that, but like if you want to draw the line between like MMA and say that like this helped inspire a culture that eventually led to MMA. I don't watch an MMA fight and think, man, that dude's psychologically healthy because he's punching that other guy. Like, Chuck Palahniuk was onto something, because that's not what he was trying to say. I don't think.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think he was exploring a lot of stuff. Like, I listened to the interview that he did with Joe Rogan and stuff on it, so it was like quite an interesting take in general.
Right.
But it was, like it's interesting to see that though, because you can put themes into something. You can go, this is what I want to have come out of this thing. Like these are my views and opinions on a thing, and it can have an opposite effect sometimes. Maybe not for you, but like for him essentially.
Here's a good example. Let's use a more contemporary example that I think is really interesting to me. Is you watch Jojo Rabbit?
Not yet. I'm keen though.
Can I go into it a little bit?
Yes, go for it. Cool. Yeah.
I mean, you get the gist. A little kid who's in the Nazi youth sees a imaginary Hitler played by Taika Waititi, who's very funny. It's his imaginary friend version of Hitler who's like fun, and he hangs out with him. And it's like his mom is actually played by Scarlett Johansson, is actually like helping sort of Jewish people get smuggled out of Germany during World War II. Cool, right? And basically, like, I watched the movie with a friend of mine, who's actually one of my producer friends as well on the show I'm working on now. And we came out of it, and we laughed at the jokes during, right? And also, like, just to throw it out there, also she's Jewish, like that adds an extra layer to it. But we laughed at the jokes during, and then we came out. We kind of went. We both walked, and we went, I don't know how I feel about that movie, right? And
I saw you tweet about it, yeah.
Yeah, and I talked about it with a bunch of people, and it's funny because I remember walking out, and immediately I ran into one of my best friend's moms who happened to be in the same movie, and she was like elated, right? And like, you don't fucking shit on your best friend's mom, right? But she's going like, oh my god, I think insert name of my friend here will love this movie. Didn't you love it? It was so brilliant. And I went, yeah, it was funny. It was great. Like, I was like, I need to get out of this conversation. I don't want to like ruin her time. But the thing that I thought about that was so funny was like I kind of actually hated the movie, even though I enjoyed the jokes, and I felt things when it made me.
You got what it was doing.
I felt sad when it was sad. I felt happy when it was happy. I felt angry when it was angry. Like, it worked. It did its job. It effectively communicated its sort of feelings. And I spoke about it with a friend of mine.
What didn't you like?
So I kept saying afterwards, what is this film trying to say? Right? And this is a very like writerly question, I guess, right? And I don't even think about that stuff all the time when I'm working on stuff. I do look at it in abstract afterwards sometimes. But I kept thinking to myself, I was like, so what is it kind of in the end kind of weird that it spends a whole movie having this kid basically say awful things about Jewish people, like slurs, right? And like describe them as monsters and stuff. And it's ridiculous. It's meant to be ridiculous. You're meant to go like, that's absurd, right? And then at the end, it gets really muddled because it's like, okay, so then like the guy who runs the local Nazi youth office, who is a Nazi, is like also protects the kid from other Nazis who are worse. But then that guy also grabs a gun and goes out and fights in the final battle against the Allied forces. So it's like, okay, he was and I guess you can argue that what a complex character.
Reality. The reality of the situation.
Right, sure, right? You could argue that, but I felt like it was kind of muddled in the way that it executed. Anyway, so I speak to a friend of mine about this, one of my old creative director friends, who I like really like fucking respect. I don't respect anybody with the title creative director except this guy, really. Two people actually. Sorry. Hi. And basically, like we were speaking, and he said, because I gave it like a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, star ratings, right? And he goes like 2 out of 5, really, And I went, yeah, dude, like, what the fuck was it trying to say about like Nazis and stuff? And his response was, what if it wasn't trying to say anything? Which I was just like, but that's not how it works. If you make something, it says something. Like, and it says something that you're saying, like whether you like it or not. Like, and I do agree that anybody can interpret things differently and can find their own version of things. But yeah, I think you have to be very aware, in my opinion, and maybe it's just because I spend so much time obsessing about what I think and trying to figure my shit out, but like you do have to be aware of what you're putting in there, what the nugget of the idea is. You can't control how everyone will interpret it, you know. A Nazi could
But
watch
you
the
can control what you can do.
Fuck, I hate black people and women, you know, like, and I can't stop that guy from doing that. But I can't put it
like
unknowingly.
like
Sorry.
with the Jojo Rabbit thing, not just be the mundaneness of, you know, evil, just how like routine like a kid's life can be under those circumstances.
You know,
Like I don't know, I haven't seen the movie, but like
watch the movie and
okay.
we'll talk about it at a different time. But like, it's not. I got all that. It is saying that.
Yeah.
Also, it's almost trying to say too much. Maybe like it's trying to. Say, it's like, and maybe. Fuck. I always think I'm the smartest person in the room. Maybe I just didn't fucking get it. Right? Maybe I'm not like fucking. Taika Waititi is very talented, and I think he's pretty funny. And but I also felt like.
But sometimes people you like
movie than Jojo Rabbit.
But it's also like people you like, you know, sometimes create art you don't like, and it's okay. Like that's totally cool.
Fine.
Like
it's totally fine. I like David Fincher is like one of my favorite filmmakers. I know I'm totally pulling us in the wrong direction here, but David Fincher is one of my favorite, if not my favorite filmmaker. And I don't like The Game. I think it's a shit movie. I don't think it's badly made. I think
that was like my first Fincher film when I was like, yeah, I get shit. Like I quite liked it. Like
gimmick movie. It's like, oh, what's real and what's not? What's real and what's not? It's like it's his only film where it doesn't feel like he's trying to say anything. It's just like someone had a cool idea for like a mystery box script, like a J.J. Abrams style mystery box script. It doesn't have a message or a theme or a like. It's just like, I guess it's about brothers, maybe, or the nature of reality. I don't know. Actually, not about any of that shit. Like, I don't know what it's about. But sorry,
that's like me at the moment with the Big Bang Theory. I'm starting to like I watched some critiques on the Big Bang Theory, and I was actually like, wait, I'm like, we're all wrong about this show. Like, the show is just telling you that nerds suck. Like that's it. Like it's saying that nerds are the things that they hate. Like that they are like, you know, jockey, masculine, alpha male, like striving types. Where everyone else is like, dude, just be yourself, but they can't because they're just trying to compete with each other the whole time. I don't know. That was just like I went on a weird.
No.
Pardon?
You provided me the perfect opportunity to dovetail into one quick thing, which is
cool.
Speaking about this with my friend Devin, right? We speak about writing a lot. Like he makes his own comics, and we're talking about how we live in a post Big Bang Theory like world, like especially within comics and stuff and comic movies and whatever. And here's the fucking thing, right? I don't know anything like about Chuck Lorre except that he wrote the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme, which gives him credit.
Oh,
like, yeah, dude, that's the only thing that gives him credit. That is his original.
He's got a lot of TV shows under his belt that are pretty good. Wasn't he Scrubs?
No, I don't think so. 2.5 Men. That's the one, right?
Yeah, I know that.
Anyway, right? So the thing is, with that show, I think so. Like that show appears to be like kind of shitting on nerds, right? It's like, oh, fucking nerds are awful, right? And maybe that's what he's doing, right? But I think that the problem with it isn't the show. The problem is the fans of the show, and I don't mean the mass audience. I mean the problem is kind of like
the nerds.
Like like exactly, right? And what it is
because they're a real subculture that they're representing. Like I watch the Big Bang Theory and I'm like, I know those people. Like
the problem is turning them into, it's making them way more benign than they actually are. I think like, you know, like, it's like at the end of the day, people love Sheldon and are entertained by him. At the end of the day, people find Leonard, they want Leonard to be with whatever her name is, Penny, right? I've never watched the show beyond like I've watched like a few scenes. Now I probably have watched one or two, but like
I saw like the first 2 seasons when I was on TV. I'm not gonna lie.
I fucking hated it the whole time. But you know what I did love when it started? You know what I used to love when it started? Like if I saw it on TV and they went into like Sheldon's room, I would like look at the back on the shelves and I'd see what issues of what volumes of DC Showcase he had on the shelf. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. That's fucking Green Lantern Volume 1. I got that shit, right? Now, here's what the worst thing about that is. I fucking hate that shit, right? Because most of what like pop culture is in like mainstream film is just that now. It's just like
it's just referencing itself.
synonymous with what everyone is like now. Oh, I remember what happened in Avengers 2. That's why I'm watching Avengers 4 and I get this reference. And it's like, like I kind of prefer, like I was advocating for Aliens 3 the other day. Like
Okay.
Alien 3. It's also a Fincher film, even though he hates it. And I was advocating it for on the basis that, like, because it hasn't been meta referenced to death, it kind of makes it the most interesting one to watch besides the first one. Because the second one,
you don't know everything that's going to happen immediately.
What?
Pardon? I was saying because like the first Alien film's like a film that if you haven't seen it, you've seen it. It's just like Pulp Fiction. It's just like a million other films. Like
I disagree. I think everyone thinks they've seen it, and actually, what it is most people remember fucking Aliens, the second one, the James Cameron one, and that movie,
okay, fair.
While good, it's not a bad movie, isn't actually as good as people say it is. To me, my take, hot take, right? And the reason why is because it's not the film's fault. It's not the film's fault at all. But it's the hyper meta referentiality of the film has made me kind of hate it. It's the same thing as like I was speaking about Empire Strikes Back with a friend the other day. Everyone says Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie, right? Even I say so, right? Except we were talking about it, like, if you think about it, it's only good because it's the sequel to Star Wars. Like it wouldn't. It's a meta reference to Star Wars. It's the adult.
Like it doesn't stand on its own at all.
No,
and it's good.
It's just cool. It's fucking great, and it's like really like quite heavy sometimes. But like it's not. Is it like, as a film, do you sit there and go, "Fuck, I just want to watch Empire Strikes Back"? If you only ever watch, like, I mean, obviously,
it's not like Godfather 2. Like you're gonna watch Godfather 2, like regardless of the original Godfather. You don't need it. Like,
kind of.
It's helpful, but like it stands on its own.
It does stand alone, though. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. We've got so distracted. I knew this was going to happen. So I'm going to ask you a real question quickly. How do you write for a long-term TV show in terms of story arc? Because generally, like if you're writing a TV show, it goes by seasons. It's 12 or 24 or whatever it is. 8 episodes depending if you're Netflix. Who fucking knows? But they just, you have your seasons and you've got your story arcs that you're trying to get through. And so each episode you're writing like within that story arc and then also writing within the episode. You've got your things you're trying to do. With Lithapo, how does that work? Because how many episodes are in this thing? Like, how does that all go together?
Okay. I can't remember the number, but it's over 100 like already, right? So Lithapo, and even the show that I'm working on now, which actually I realize I can't say the name of, so forget that I told you the name of it. Like it hasn't been officially announced yet. But basically, the thing with Lithapo and even this new show, they're telenovelas, right? And the telenovela is effectively, think of it like it's in the vein of the soap opera. Obviously, it's the kind of usually daily sort of scheduled show. Lithapo is 3 days a week. But the audience tunes in regularly to watch like sort of a chunk of story. The Lithapo episode's only 20 minutes long, for example. No, a bit longer. 20 minutes is the new show I'm working on. But anyway, point being that there is a larger structure like you would do for a 13 episode or 10 episode or 8 episode season. But that structure is a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like exploded. Like it's a lot more, like you can get into a lot more fine detail. But at the same time, where something like Stranger Things, 8 episodes, would have, and I know I'm using an American example, but even Queen Sono would have a much crazier budget per episode than any single episode of Lithapo, right? But Lithapo overall obviously can make like this kind of the budget that it has work to tell a much longer, larger, more complex story. So like the way we break it down is it starts as a pitch, which was Neil McCarthy's pitch with Quizzical. He was the head writer, and basically, he kind of came with the base concept based on usually there's some kind of pitch requirement put out by channels. They go, we're looking for a show about these themes, or this is the social issue, or this is the whatever. And so he pitched something, and it took a while to get started because they kind of been out about it, I think, for quite a while, SABC, and then eventually they said, cool, it's happening. And when they first gave it to us, they said, okay, we're going to break it down so it's 3 seasons. But each season is is like I don't know, maybe 52 episodes long or something like that, right? Like something crazy like that. Although now it's just an ongoing show. They've decided to not do this. We still have the season break story moments in them, but they've decided to just run it as an ongoing, as far as I know. So basically, what happens is then we get together as storyliners. The storylining team is sort of smaller. It's the head writers. That was Neil. Then there was Tish. It was Mahano. It was myself. And we would. The story was divided.
That's a pretty small team, though, isn't it?
Well, wait. I'm gonna break it up. I'm gonna break it down for you. That's the storyliner team. So if you look in the credits of any episode, you'll see storyliners, and then that's where you'll see my name. Right? And basically, like what that is we with Neil will take his large kind of plot, which isn't super detailed. You know, it has key moments in it that we have to kind of markers that he thought would be interesting, dramatic markers that sold the pitch. And then we kind of sit and do the sort of episode by episode. And even that is further broken down. So for example, I started out as C storyline because I was the least experienced. And C storyline per episode was getting like maybe 3 scenes an episode to tell this ongoing story over the course of a week. And then each week we meet, we go, okay, here's a 6-episode block, right? We'll call it like a 6-episode block.
Sure.
You've got to do all the C scenes for the 6 episodes, episode 1 to 6, 3 scenes an episode. Write them down as a paragraph, what's going to happen. And we're trying to get from this point to this point, all right? And obviously the real story is what happens between those points, not the points, right? And then we know what the larger structure might be, or we talk about that a lot. In fact, we start by talking about the larger ideas, but we come in now to the nitty-gritty each week. And then each week we go in, we have a draft of that, we have a revised draft of the previous week, and we go forward, and we roll forward, and we roll forward, right? And we get more, we finesse. Now, and then those drafts combine the C storyline, the B, which will have like, let's say 4 scenes an episode, and the A, which will have like 6 or 7 scenes an episode. And Neil, like we put it all together, Neil takes it, and the head writer takes it, and like irons that all out and kind of make sure it all knits together. So if a character crosses from my story into like my C story into the B story, because it just happened, Matt needed them for a scene because it made sense. Neil's the one who makes sure that stitch works well. He goes in as the head writer and goes, okay, let's make sure that those 2 scenes don't work next to each other. So let's shift this one here and put that one there. It's very mechanical in that sense, even though it doesn't feel like that when you do it at all. Not for me. And then what happens is when you've kind of got that gets then that outline per episode is a script. The script gets sent out to all the different writers, and that's when there's way more writers. So there might be 10 writers, including the storylines. So you'll see with the Lithapo, I write every 10 episodes or something.
Oh, wow. So, thanks for breaking that all down, because genuinely had no fucking clue. I know a lot about, how TV is made and how writing rooms sometimes look. Definitely more on the comedy side of things and, on the more serial-based stuff. So it isn't quite like that, where you've got to have so many people breaking everything into different things. It's usually a team of people working together. Some people might have their own episodes depending on the show, but you have a head writer doing the things. So
I worked briefly on, do you remember in Number? There was a movie and then they did a series later. And it's about undercover cops who go undercover with a gang and have to pull this big heist, right? And when they did the show, it was also at Quizzical. I was in the earlier team, and then there was they pushed pause on production. Anyway, point being that show's only, I think, 10 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. And so much tighter, right? And 10 episodes there, we were able to, you draw it all on a whiteboard and you go, okay, episode 1 is this, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, A, B, or not even ABC. Each character, what they kind of need to be doing and what the main character is doing, kind of through it all. And then each writer got an episode.
Okay, cool.
In that room. So I got an episode that was oh, you're going to do the setup for this heist.
But how do you feel having to write an episode on your own? Do you like the challenge, or does it scare you going into it? What are you thinking?
Well, that's the interesting thing about it is the whole idea of on my own, right? Is because of this process that happens beforehand, all this planning and
you've got it all before. You're not starting it. You're not going. What do I have to do now?
And I'm lucky as a storywriter because I start in the story room and plan the story with everybody else and give suggestions for other people's stories and they give suggestions for mine. So I'm going, oh, what about in the B story if this happens, right? Even though I'm not writing the B story, I'm writing the A story, right? And then basically, like when I get an outline, a finished outline to write a script from, I'm actually, it's funny, I was talking about it today in our meeting because we have a meeting on Tuesday. And I was saying, when I get an outline and I've written too much in the outline, which is really irritating as a scripter when they've described everything that happens in the scene, like in too much detail, like this one
gives you nothing to do.
Right? Like, and I looked at like sometimes when I do that to myself and I go, but I know what's going to happen next episode better than, or not next episode, 10 episodes from now, way better than any other writer. So I know what I can trim out of here. And so what I end up doing is I end up kind of going in and saying, I'll just kind of pull that out, or I'll, you know, the old advice about start the scene as late as possible, leave as early as possible.
Yeah,
you're that writing tip, right? Like in full, you start the scene as late as possible, you leave as early as possible. That is kind of what it ends up being a lot of the time. I look at a scene and I go, okay, so the way it's written in the outline is this character is busy cleaning his gun, and then you know, his mom comes into the room, and then they have a conversation, and then that leads them to decide that they're going to put down their guns and sort this out like you know, only an incestuous couple can, and like make up, right? And then they fall into bed together, and then we watch an extended sex scene. And then what I would do instead, if I got the outline, and that's not a real show, by the way, that's just off the top of my head. That's where my mind's at. But basically, like, what I would do in the scene instead is I'll look at it and I'll go, you know what if it starts off and she's already in the room and he's already cleaning the gun? Like, it's just started. We don't have to see him get the gun, or we don't have to see her arrive. We just join in maybe just as she's come in. Like, and so we get the, not the high, but we get the, I can't believe you're still cleaning that damn gun, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then let's not end on them falling to bed together. Let's end on they look at each other longingly. What's going to happen? We don't know. Right? And the audience gets the idea. Like, and it's like sometimes that's kind of the trick to it. It's like you're just going like, okay, let me respect my audience here. They don't need every like minute detail at this moment. And just in terms of process, the script still then goes to an editor who takes the block of scripts. So, for example, one of my co-writers on another project, Nonzi, a very, very good friend of mine, amazingly talented, Nonzi Bokatsu. Nonzi is the editor on the show I'm working on right now. And she'll get those scripts. And in fact, I owe one. Hope she's not watching. She'll get those scripts. And she'll then have to stitch them together between the different writers for any little moment. For example, sometimes I'll have a guy as like, you know, a scene where a guy meets a security guard. He's looking at the security guard. I don't name the security guard or give you any detail about him. I just tell you what he's there for. And then that's a cliffhanger. And then he's in the next episode. Now, two different writers have to write that security guard, but they've never spoken to each other. So Nonzi's the one who makes sure that he, you know, he's a woman in this scene and a man in this scene. Okay, wait, let's just make it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I've wondered about stuff like that with writing rooms where you do write separately, where you're writing different episodes and stuff like that. Because, yeah, that is a pretty unique aspect of the job that, and I don't think a lot of people know that. Like, you know, when you watch a Law and Order Special Victims Unit, you don't know that it's different people who have worked on like the stories for each one. And like, that's why the characters might sound a little different sometimes. But in general, how do you manage that? Getting the, like, the characters consistently, that's not necessarily your part of the job, but like it is still something you have to consider, right?
It is part of it. It is part of the job. It's in a way it's everyone's part of the job, and like what really gets the characters knitted together well is time, right? As we get to know the characters,
so you know them.
They become more clear, right? And there's a lot of process that goes on in pre-production that like you know, you get exposed to that teaches you a lot about how that works. So for example, when we've been writing, we were already well into the new show I'm working on. Maybe we were on episode 30 or something. And then we finally had what we consider to be pretty much the final draft of the first 10 episodes. And we said, let's meet up in the boardroom, channel people, producers, or maybe not channel people, I can't remember, but production, writers, and let's, you know, even the acting coach, let's meet up and let's read these scripts together, these 10, 5 on one day, 5 on the next day, and let's make notes and let's see what we're picking up on. Because what's amazing is because
You have the common thread.
together, it's amazing how we all arrive at similar conceptions of characters a lot of the time. So not always. Some characters are less refined and you have to work on them, right? But like, for example, the lead in the new show I'm working on, what we all ended up doing by some happenstance when we got the script was we all ended up making him really silent. And he almost never speaks. And when he does, it's very like short and brief. And what's funny is I'm the A story outliner. So I outline the scenes with that character. And I don't like writing a lot of dialogue, weirdly. I can get very flowery. I speak a lot. But like, I try to like pull back from that as much as I can sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm kind of the opposite. That's where I find like I enjoy like writing the most is just writing dialogue, coming up with scenes, coming up with everything else. I'm like, I don't know, but I can come up with the conversation. Like I'm good at that.
It's a comedy thing, right? It's like, I mean, I know you did Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I think like one of the things that's sort of funny about Kevin Smith, if you look at his writing, is he very clearly just likes writing conversations between characters. So he creates barely a scenario a lot of the time, right? Like for characters to have a conversation. I mean, obviously in the extreme examples, it's something like Clerks. But like if you look at something like a later film like Dogma, which actually has a plot, it's still like, and then they stop at the movies and they have and lay it all this out, right? And it's kind of interesting because I like to do a thing where I do write dialogue. I'm not saying I don't, but like my biggest tick that I have to kind of reel in, and like it's funny because my friends have worked as my editors on shows like on Lithapo and stuff, so they can tell me these things without it being like a shit thing, right? Without it being offensive. And my friend like Abby, for example, was editing scripts on Lithapo. She said to me, Abena says, you love to put in every kind of important little detail of action that you feel is vital. And she's 100% right. She goes, when she was editing my scripts to trim down a page, like, or 2 pages, because it's each page is like a minute or whatever, she would just go in and pull out scene direction. Like she wouldn't like remove dialogue half the time. She would just go like, okay, because I go like, I also feel weird writing more than like 3 or 4 lines of dialogue without a scene direction. And then might be
do you see yourself going into directing itself? Like if you feel that necessary to like actually guide the story so much?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I love, obviously love film and like have directed a little bit and like love doing it. I love every aspect of the process. I think my tendencies are more visual in a lot of senses, and it's why certain films can really like work for me that aren't films that like ones are full, like layered with line upon line of dialogue.
Okay. I do, like you and I like can talk forever. I mean, we're already 22 minutes over what we're going to, but we do have the Anti-Film Film Club about to start in 8 minutes time. So I think we can call this one to a close. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for teaching me and everyone else who's joined us tonight. Thank you for joining us here on Almost Live. Greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button wherever it is. Nas, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter, is probably the best place because I'm the most active there. I'm at Nas Hoosen, NASWHO. I'm also on Instagram if you want to follow there. Mostly my Instagram stories are the active part, not really my my feed or whatever you want to call it.
I'm the same.
But yeah, that's the fun part anyway, because it's not there forever.
Yeah, I've put my Instagram on lockdown. Like you can try follow me if you want to, Almost Perfect Bob. But like if you're a brand page or you're just someone I don't like, fuck off. Like that's for me. But you can definitely watch me stunts on you all day, every day on Twitter at Bobness Monster. Yeah. Thank you once again for joining us everywhere that you have joined us today. And join us right now on Twitter. We are going to be watching Dodgeball and just giving a commentary on it. And it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Cool. Thank you so much. Cheers, bro.
Peace.